Hi teams, it's my turn to be back this week with the update, and we thought we'd concentrate on telling you about the meeting that Community Pharmacy Scotland has just had on Monday with Jean Freeman, MSP, Cabinet Secretary for Health and Sport. The first thing to say that the Cabinet Secretary was at pains to ensure that I passed on her personal thanks to the whole of the network and our teams for the tremendous work that she acknowledged you had done and are continuing to do during the COVID-19 pandemic. She was really impressed by how well you have all stepped up and the service levels that we have maintained since late March as we entered this particular phase. So she personally asked if she could pass on her thanks. You may have picked that up in the Twitter exchange at the beginning of the week when she tweeted that out. Well, hopefully you've all managed to hear that or see it, certainly on social media, and accept that praise that she was willing to give you. We then moved on to talk about NHS Pharmacy First and how could that be expanded. So we're looking at introducing new disease states into it to ensure that people get the right care at the right place at the right time, and that features heavily in the NHS remobilisation plans and renewal as we go forward. So pharmacy and NHS Pharmacy First service in particular really is seen as a cornerstone of NHS renewal. So to try and help the public understand that, as well as our network accept that, there's going to be a media campaign using radio and digital during the week commencing the 21st of September. So there'll be a lot of radio advertising about that and when to use your pharmacy, when to use your GP, when to use your optician. And we'll play a part in terms of Community Pharmacy Scotland in making sure that the message that goes out to the public reflects what the network can actually deliver. So hopefully that's a positive take up and move on our behalf. We then talked about digital and how that could be linked into prescribing as we go forward and what it means in terms of repeat prescription usage and encouraging the use of serial prescriptions to make sure we don't get caught if there is any second wave or anything like that. So that was one of the other topics we certainly covered off. A big one that you will be interested in, I'm sure, was funding. Now, at the minute, the Cabinet Secretary hasn't seen the final proposal coming back from Health Finance. What she absolutely gave us an assurance was that when she does see it, she won't sit on it. Her words, she'll give us an answer very quickly. And I'm really hopeful that we get some positive news for you, both in terms of tariff support and COVID funding within this month and certainly by the end of it. And that was again our own personal commitment to look at that as soon as it hits her desk. She actually was keen to raise, so Jean Freeman raised with us, what about vaccination and how much we could play into the NHS seasonal flu vaccine programme. So I know that's mixed across the country. We've collated some information for her department and we'll be sending that in and working there to ensure they know exactly how big a role that you could and are playing into the NHS vaccination programme, specifically about seasonal flu this year. The other thing we looked at was the contractual framework. Now that was something that's in Achieving Excellence in Pharmaceutical Care, so it's already in there. It's just something we were keen to move on in a couple of areas around that. And again, the CPS board and executive will work with the Scottish Government around that particular thing. She was also keen to hear and was pleased to hear that we've managed to deliver now on the independent prescribing strategy. You'll have seen the circular. If you haven't, please go on our website, read about that. The places, particularly at Robert Gordon's, are filling up fast. And so far, community pharmacies and pharmacists have got half of those places secured. So please, if you are interested, look out for those places and also the Strathclyde one that's coming up in the very near future. So that takes us through to potentially new things that we might be able to look at in a sexual health service, because women's health featured in the programme for government that was also released at the beginning of this week. So there'll be other things that we'll look on, not immediately to get involved in, but we'll pick up things with that with Scottish Government colleagues and have further discussions on that. So it's really just to try and assure you that community pharmacy is actively being sought its involvement in the renewal of the NHS agenda. It's great to see. I don't think I've ever seen that in my career in community pharmacy, that we are very much front and centre and considered as part of the solution. It's really my plea to you is to ask you to accept that responsibility and continue to deliver the fantastic services that we've been doing throughout March and ongoing. So hopefully that gives you a flavour of what we're discussing with the Cabinet Secretary. I'll reiterate her personal thanks to you, and I'm sure we'll be back next week if we've got an update and hopefully something around funding for you very soon. So all the best to all the teams out there, and thanks again for everything you're doing.